I can turn it off.
No, it's you're good.
Quiet.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The High Ground, our second episode where we are covering all things Obi-Wan Kenobi, the new Disney Plus series that is all about our favorite Jedi, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I am here with Isaiah and Naomi this week. Isaiah, how are you? I'm so glad you were able to join us this week.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't know if I can co-sign Obi-Wan be my favorite Jedi.
He's not my
'Cause
favorite Jedi either.
Yeah, I was about to say I like Ahsoka, you know what I'm saying? But no, it's cool. It's dope. I literally just watched the episode, so I can have like a fresh take. And like I was like a huge super fan for a second. I was like, whoa, like it was
Yeah,
crazy. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
awesome. Naomi, how are you this week?
I'm great. Obi-Wan, also not my favorite Jedi, but I would say he makes the top five for me. I love him. And I love Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor could be my top. If there was like a Jedi, like Jedi hotties calendar, he would be on the top for me.
He's
I'm
definitely
great.
number one.
I literally just watched this episode like an hour ago, so I'm psyched. I can't wait to talk about it with y'all. I'm so glad, Isaiah, that you're here to join us. The panel finally united.
Wow.
Yes.
It's a special occasion.
Well, Isaiah, last week we talked a little bit about just like our history with Star Wars, who our favorite Jedis are. Obviously, you just said Ahsoka, which is an amazing choice. But give us like a quick 2-minute rundown of like your Star Wars fandom. What's your vibe? What's your favorite Star Wars movie? When did you get into Star Wars? Just so the people know who you are and kind of
Yeah,
your history here.
I mean, so I've always watched it. I ever since like I was little, I can remember being into like the cartoons. I really wasn't into the movies at a younger age. I really kind of like just started getting into it when the Clone Wars started, and then
Hmm.
once I got into that, I was like, all right, I'm gonna give the movies a chance. Um, I will say probably everything pre Anakin. Mm, everything pre Luke. It took me a while to actually finally start watching. So like I watched Luke enough, and then like I eventually went back. So like I'm kind of like having a really fun time with just seeing like this new age of like Obi-Wan, and I'm sure we're going to talk about him in a little bit, but like Vader and all this stuff. So Leia, I would like to talk about her too. But
Yeah.
I've kind of just been like dabbling in and out, but like I always have like these spurts where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna watch Harry Potter, I'm gonna go watch Star Wars, I'm gonna go. I haven't watched Game of Thrones yet. That's still on my list. But like I have like my nerd out moments where like I just binge a bunch of stuff. So I'm pretty well versed with Star Wars. Also like the games. But yeah.
Amazing. So you started with the Clone Wars and the animated shows as your first. That's awesome. I'm a big
Yeah.
Clone Wars fan. I'm a big Rebels fan. I feel like that's some of the best storytelling in Star Wars, and I love that we're finally getting some of that intertwined with these live action shows. It's really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I remember I was always wondering if it was canon to like the live action series.
Hmm.
And before the voice quip with in the Rise of God, not Scott, was it Rise of Skywalker? I
Yeah.
think it was.
Hmm.
Where they had an Ahsoka voice clip. I was like, before all that,
Yeah.
I went to Disney World and they had like a lightsaber creating thing at like the new Star Wars land. And they were talking about each crystal and they incorporated Ahsoka to like the green one. I'm like, huh? I'm like, wait a minute, isn't that a cartoon character? So, once they finally canonized like all that stuff and started throwing like all these like animated properties into the live action, I was like, this is awesome, So, yeah, they're like, it's great. I'm enjoying it.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Naomi, any really high level thoughts about this episode before we jumped in? I know we had some criticisms last week, not as much as maybe some of the rest of the internet had, but we had some about kind of how rushed we felt. Do you feel the same way about this episode at the jump? And then we'll get into some of the details.
No, I'm really high on this episode. I think it had a
Hmm.
lot of great like character building moments that could be both had room to breathe and be like actually very important to characters, while at the same time the plot was moving. We were getting to new places, seeing new things, and at the end we've reached a moment where I don't know what's going to happen next, and I'm very excited about that. Like there's I like in Star Wars for the most part to things to end on like a oh my god, what do they have to do next? No, it's like
Yeah.
you always want that like Han Solo frozen in carbonite moment of like, oh shit, what the hell are they gonna do now? And I'm glad that we
Yeah.
kind of ended on that note. So
Yeah, we definitely did. And I know we talked a little bit about this last week about how the show kind of has that like Better Call Saul element where we know that the characters are at the end of the day going to be okay, but they still kind of give you that anxiety feeling. And so many times watching this episode, if you're not watching the video, I'm about to put my hands like on top of my head and freak out. I was panicking throughout this episode. So they did a great job with the storytelling here. And right before we jump into the episode, I do want to say I want to give a shout out to Moses Ingram. She plays Reva in the show. She's been going through it with some of the toxic Star Wars fandom. She's been posting on her Instagram a lot of the racist direct messages that she's been getting. We want to say just at the top, we stand with Moses Ingram. She's incredible. She's a great actress, and we're just very excited to see her on the show. And you know what? This is a world with aliens and different races all over the place, and everybody accepts them. You guys have to drop the racism. It's not it. We're not here for it. We don't co-sign it, and we want to give Moses Ingram a quick shout out. So let's get into it.
All right.
We open this episode with Obi-Wan meditating, trying to call Qui-Gon Jinn again. He doesn't get an answer, but he does seem like he's getting a little bit clouded by all of the events that had happened to him right at the end of episode 2 of this show, which is Reva saying, Anakin is still alive. And then we hear, we get a Yoda flashback, which, as we talked about last week, I'm not here for Yoda. He's my least favorite Jedi of all time. It's, again, for another podcast, saying only pain you will find, kind of like in episode 3, when he looks at the security footage, we get a flashback to that where he realizes, where Obi-Wan then learns that Anakin slayed the younglings and is now Darth Vader. We also get some Qui-Gon flashbacks, some Anakin flashbacks from episode 3, and then we get this vision of Obi-Wan, and then we also get this spliced together with Anakin becoming Vader and getting his limbs put together. What were you guys feeling in this moment? Because I felt like even this starting point was like, whoa, we're kicking off at full speed.
Well, first of all, that Yoda take is horrible. I'm sorry.
We'll talk about it another time. I know you have a time limit today, and I will
horrible.
reach my time limit talking about how Yoda is the worst.
But no, that was cool. Like I said, one thing I enjoyed about Clone Wars was that it kind of showed us a lot of things, lore wise, because anyone who hasn't seen me on anything when it comes to anime and like nerdy stuff like this, I love lore, backstories, and all this stuff. So we really didn't get to like see that in like the main movie. So I'm enjoying these series because it's kind of like showing you like the flashbacks with like honestly, specifically with like Order 66, like all the people getting killed and stuff. I mean, it's not good, but I mean yeah, like I don't know. But no, it was crazy. It was crazy to watch. And I'm as a fan, just like watching it for the first time, just seeing Vader on my screen again, I was just like freaking out because like, I mean, all right, Rogue One showed us him like a little bit, but like not really, so I was just like, finally, like I'm getting like Vader content, and like they put the suit back on him, and he's just like, it's so badass in this thing. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm gonna let you control that, but oh my god, like I'm loving Vader in this, man. He's dope.
Naomi, what
To
are your
me,
thoughts?
The best part was like the intricate assembly of Darth Vader, because I think that there's what I can tell that like Star Wars in general, like from Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau to what we're seeing now, what they love to do is they love to take something that is very established and then break it down. So, this is like all the backstory to like the Mandalorian armor and like even, Boba Fett and shit like that, and like how he gets out of the Sarlacc pit, right? They love to show piece by piece how something actually exists. And so I love that we got to see like all of the assembly of Darth Vader, especially knowing how terrible I don't want to say situation he was in, but like how terribly disfigured Obi-Wan left him on the planet. He is definitely doing a lot better, and he's got a good walk, which is crazy considering he has like no limbs. But he's still very powerful. I love, though, when you think about it and you see them put the panel in, and it's just got like a red button and a green button, and you're like, what do those buttons do?
I
Like,
have the same feeling. What do those buttons do?
is it just like a vending
Someone
machine? Like, what
knows.
happens when you press it? You get a quarter
Maybe
if you get a
like that's
quarter
how he
returned?
goes
I
to the
don't understand.
bathroom or something. Like,
Oh, maybe. Like just disposes of his
these are the
waste.
questions we need answers to. You know.
There are
Mhm.
definitely answers out there. Knowing Star Wars fans will find them. We'll just have to do a quick Google.
Yeah, I'm sure it's in a book or
Yeah, I
something,
totally
but you
agree.
can't make me
Yes,
read.
it's yeah, no, we're not reading. I totally agree with everything that you guys are saying. Isaiah, especially what you're saying about Vader being a badass. Like this is what I've been waiting for because even in the beginning of the Star Wars series in episodes 4, 5, and 6, like Vader's the bad guy, but he's kind of like, especially in episode 4, he's kind of like the lackey. Like people are talking back to him. In episode 5, you see him more like just doing what the Emperor wants him to do. And now it's like he really you're right. We got a glimpse of it in Rogue One, a very quick flash. It was like 2 minutes long. We want more of that badass Vader. And we got it this episode. I mean, not only do we get it, we got a lot of it. And I don't think this is the last of it that we're going to get. So I can't wait until we get to that point. But I'm very excited. And I think they made Hayden Christensen look amazing with his prosthetics and his makeup. I mean, they did a great job on him.
Absolutely.
So we also hear Obi-Wan kind of in his meditation. He doesn't say this out loud, but you hear him think, "He's coming, Master." So obviously this is him kind of like, I guess, force speaking or trying to force speak to Qui-Gon Jinn. So it seems like Obi-Wan is just very clouded with a lot of anxiety, fear. Maybe he's not as in touch with the Force as maybe he would hope to be. Any other thoughts on this scene, or should we kick it over to Mustafar?
I think you just move on to Mustafar. There's like, this isn't even like the most interesting portion, well, unless
Yeah,
Naomi
it's
does.
true. The only thing I have to add is that like I really like this idea of like we can see how troubled and like even after 10 years how deeply Obi-Wan feels his mistakes.
Yeah.
And I love that character building because it just reminds you that like he's a very, very troubled person and he has, you know, what happened in episode 3 was not easy for him. And it's so great that it's, you know, it's Ewan McGregor all the way. Like he just gets to continue a performance that he did so good in. Yeah.
Incredible. So we do get an external shot of Mustafar, lava going all over the place. We're in Vader's, I don't know, is it Vader's castle, his temple, whatever it's called. And he just kind of like walks down into his office looking awesome. And he starts talking to the third sister, Reva. And they obviously have a relationship here. And I know that the last episode we were kind of like, how does she know that how does she know that Anakin is Darth Vader? Does she know him personally? Did she just find out? So we see here that she's in contact with him. And he tells her, you know, I've been watching you. I know what it is you seek. And if you prove yourself, you will get the position of Grand Inquisitor. And if you fail me, you won't live to regret it, essentially. Do we think that there's more here that's driving Reva, or do we really think that it is just her desire to be the next Grand Inquisitor? Feels to me like there's more here.
There's more there, definitely. I don't know if they're going to like lead to her like looking at like the, you know, maybe getting converted from Obi-Wan to like join like, you know, outside the dark side, or I don't know if this is like some kind of like tie into like her backstory or something. I will say continuity wise, Star Wars definitely has a little bit of an issue because I do know in Rebels, wasn't it like only the Grand Inquisitor can talk to Vader, and then basically anyone under the Grand Inquisitor has to report to that Grand Inquisitor to talk to Vader, but like, you know, Vader spoke to her directly, so it was a little all over the place there. But specifically with this relationship, I mean, I mean, obviously there's like a little manipulation there, but like I don't think she's going to stay evil for that long. Like obviously there's something there with her backstory. I feel like she's going to like change sides personally.
That's interesting. Naomi, what do you think?
Ooh. I actually hadn't really thought about that. I was thinking that maybe she ends up like making a sacrifice in the end, and we'll see. Certainly, as we know in the end of the episode, she is kidnapping Leia once again. So, you know, maybe that spunky little girl changes her ways. But more importantly, I think that we can see that she's like very power hungry and that Darth Vader's playing into that. And I think it just goes to show, I'm going to call it like the cycle of abuse, even though, you know, there are people who really suffer abuse in life, but like it's the cycle of a person manipulating another person on the dark side to get them to do what they want to continue. You know, it's exactly what the Emperor was doing to Anakin, and Anakin just does it to other people. And I am really fascinated by her psychological profile, and I'm hoping that we get to see a little bit of backstory for her. You know, it's not going to be like when Boba Fett just started talking about the Mandalorian. It's going to be relevant to the story
Right.
this time. But I'm looking forward to that segment. Also, apologies to any listeners. There's suddenly a thunderstorm outside, so if you hear thunder, don't worry,
Oh
it's
no.
just me.
Hot take. If they do go to like I mean, I don't think she's going to live throughout the story, right? But
Yeah.
I think there's going to be at some point she's going to die, like Naomi said. But if she does end up like leaving the dark side and being good, I mean, I don't know if like you played this game, Katie. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
I
There was
did, yeah.
main villain in that. Spoiler alert. Who
Mhm.
cares? The main villain in that, obviously, she has like a change of heart at the end of that. What happened? Vader kills her. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I could see something similar like that happening as well. Because it's not really a spoiler, but like Obi-Wan's not going to die. So like
Right.
there has to be Leia's not going to die, Obi-Wan's not going to die, Vader's not going to die. They're not going to have an entire series with like nobody important dying. So I'm assuming she's going to have to die since she's getting so much screen time at some point. But the reason for her to die is either because she's not successful or she betrays. It's one or the other. That's just
Mhm.
my predictions. So.
My thought is that I think she is actually going to fail getting Obi-Wan, or her ambition is really going to get in her way, and Vader is just going to be like, I'm done, and kind of just kill her. I don't know that she's going to have a redemption. I mean, it is Disney Star Wars. I could see it. They pretty much give everybody a redemption story, including Boba Fett. So we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised, but I would like to see a bad guy just remaining a bad guy and then just getting killed by another bad guy. Like, let's just see it. Not everybody needs to have a light side and a dark side struggle. Like,
Yeah.
she seems like she is rooted in her ambitions and the dark side of the force, and she's super powerful. Like, let's just see it through. Let's just let her be a badass and then get taken out for being a badass.
Yeah, I love the conflict that she has with with the other brother and sister. I think that that's a great element to her story, and I think that like when you are considering all of her story and all of what's going to happen, I think it's important to see these characters make enemies within, they're all bad people and they're all, I guess, under the same cause. But at the same time, there is no human connection between them. There's no emotion.
Mhm.
They're all incredibly competitive. And it's the same idea of, like scoundrels fucking over scoundrels. But I think that, again, it's that great contrast to show that the dark side is dark and doesn't have the power of the light side or power of the Jedi or whatever you want to call it. And I love the conflict. I love how mad they are at each other. And there's like, it's like siblings who want their parents to pay attention to them. It's great.
Yeah, I love
Brother
it.
and sister.
I love it. Yeah, for sure. So after this, we get Obi-Wan and Leia back on the ship. He's fixing her little droid Lola, which is very cute. And she basically asks him, like, can this freighter move any faster? Can you use the Force? And he's like, that's really not how this works. And she says, how does it work? So he explains to her what it feels like. And he says, have you ever been afraid of the dark? Well, how does it feel when you turn on the light? And she said, I feel safe. And he said, it feels like that. To me, it feels like Obi-Wan right now is in the dark and he needs to get that light turned back on. That's what it feels like his mental state is right now. I thought this was really interesting way for him to phrase it. I've never heard the Force phrased this way. The setting of this episode is very dark. Obi-Wan obviously is not centered in the Force. I think that this is really just an interesting way for them to kind of say, like, he just needs to turn this light back on and connect right back to that Force. What do you guys think?
No, I thought it was super dope. The terminology was awesome. I haven't heard anything like that either. It honestly, as a fan, it like for someone that's not in that universe, like it makes you like think about, oh, okay, like that's easy to like kind of like imagine in your mind, like this is what the feeling is, So it was dope. It's crazy how like the smallest thing, like an explanation to a child, as an adult, it makes me like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, it was dope.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I think the Force is a very beautiful concept in many Star Wars stories, and I think that knowing somebody is Force sensitive, like we end up knowing that Leia is technically Force sensitive, I think that this is such a nice, interesting first step into whatever journey she has. And I also feel like for Obi-Wan, he's been resisting the Force so much. He's been ignoring it and putting it aside and really not accessing that part of himself for a long time. And I think that Leia is kind of like a good reminder of like the younglings that are out there that are that are interested in the Force and the light side. And obviously, we know that like Leia's going to do a lot later on, and especially a lot with like the Force and you know her son, as we know, and you know we'll get there. But I like this. I really like their little conversations. I mean I don't know how you guys feel. A lot of people I think on the internet are not thrilled with this Leia and not thrilled with the actress, but I think this episode actually showed that she is both a good actress and with the right dialogue, it's a good character. I think she was too smarmy the first two episodes, just a little too much, and now she's like the perfect balance of like spunky and independent while also being like very kind and the Leia that I think we end up knowing.
How old is she supposed to be right now?
10.
Telling you,
She's
she's
supposed to
very
be 10.
well spoken. Leia was a
She
well
is.
spoken 10-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that last week, and we were like, we wouldn't even come up with some of these insults as adult women. There's no way that this 10-year-old. But I think, I think in the last two sets of episodes, the last set of two episodes, she was very Princess Leia, and here I feel like she's more like General Organa a little bit. I think she's showing that she's scrappy and she's smart and she can think on her feet. So and she's brave, and I think that I like the actress. I think she's good. I think people just have. Star Wars fans are just overly critical with actors and actresses in general. It's a little wild.
Yeah. I just don't think that they like any new content involving Star Wars in general.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. That's not us. That's not us here. We're embracing it. We're happy just to have more Star Wars on our screen. So Obi-Wan and Leia, they land on this mining system. It's called Mapuzo. They follow the coordinates that Obi-Wan got from Haja in the last episode. He makes a comment about his friend maybe not telling the truth. And Leia kind of says, well, like, why would he lie? And he kind of snaps at her a little bit and says, people are not all good, Leia. Obi-Wan is stressed out. Okay. He is stressed. He's been pushed to the limits. I think it's just more kind of adding on what we saw in the beginning of like this kind of like anxiety driven meditation session that he had. He's snapping at Leia. I think he's just really on edge in general. And again, I think it all turns back to him kind of like still being in that darkness of the Force and not really fully turning it back on. But he does give us a quick overview of what this planet was. It used to be kind of, much more lively. It had fields and families, but then the Empire came and they ravaged it all. And Leia's kind of like, oh, I thought the Empire was helping us, which it seems like this is maybe the first experience that she's really having with the Empire, which will lead her down this path of being part of the rebellion later on, which is interesting. And he says, there are people like your dad who are trying to help, but overall, it's just a losing battle.
Yeah, I was actually going to say before I lose my thought, I think he's always on edge right now because you also got to take into account this is like a couple years in after the entire like overthrow, and he's been in hiding for like a long time. I'm not going to say that he was like content with his lifestyle, but he's been in hiding. They all thought he was dead, and now he's being actively hunted. And at this point, you have to constantly be on the move. They are very persistent. If this hasn't shown you that already, there's not really many places you can hide. Everyone, including the driver, which we'll talk about in a second, are willing to throw anyone under the bus. So it's like I would be stressed out too. I get it. But yeah, definitely I do think, what was I going to say? I do think one more thing. I think it's interesting just to kind of see how almost I'm going to say Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Luke, eventually with the later movies, they all kind of like lose their way within like the Force and all that stuff. And they're just like, willing to like put that aside. And like I thought that was like a cool contrast because the way I'm seeing Obi-Wan is kind of like how I'm seeing Luke, in Rise of Skywalker and stuff when he was just like completely like over it. So I thought that was interesting. But how about you, Naomi?
I think for me, it kind of reminds me about like when like maybe your parents are Republican and then you start to realize that like what they're talking about is like, oh, I actually don't think that everybody should be. I actually don't think that the rich should get richer and the poor should get poorer.
No.
That's crazy. And I'm not saying that's like what Bail Organa is like, but certainly what we know is that Leia is a privileged princess, no matter what. She literally gets to go be a princess while her brother has to go work on a fucking farm, right? And that shapes who she is. People call her spoiled and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, her heart is in the right place and she uses her capital and her power for the preservation of the rebellion and the destruction of the Empire. So, she's good. She's an ally. She's woke. But at the same time, this is the beginning of it, right? This is the introduction to Leia becoming woke and realizing, going from I would say it's crossing the threshold of being a child and being innocent to realizing that to become a not only an ally to the rebellion, but also to become like a really savvy person. You can't trust everybody, and you gotta be sharper than them. You gotta be smarter than them. This is the first moment where she realizes that not everybody's a friend. Not even the mole people who drive your truck.
Yeah, exactly. And I think she's really learning this lesson for the first time, because we learn in the last episode that she's never been off Alderaan until she got onto Daiyu last episode. And now she's like facing all of this turmoil and she's realizing all of these things. And this is really, to your point, Naomi, the start of her step in the right direction in the rebellion and seeing what the Empire actually is for what it is, instead of kind of what her politician family or, her royal family, I guess, is exposing her to, which obviously isn't much. So as they're walking, Obi-Wan looks off to the side and he sees a flash of Anakin Skywalker as a Jedi with the hood on, and it stops him in his tracks. This shook me. I was like, is it Qui-Gon? Like, what is it? And then I was like, oh my God, it's Anakin, and it's Hayden Christensen in his Jedi robes again. I didn't know that we would see this. This got me hyped up. I was like, oh, we're getting some good stuff this episode for sure. What did you guys think about this? I loved this.
Is this a hint at more Anakin content this season? Like, are we going to get more flashbacks?
I hope so.
I would love that. I would love it a lot.
I really want to see Hayden Christensen actually acting, because we're so lucky to still have James Earl Jones doing the voice, and maybe Hayden's in the suit or something. Although I can't imagine just being on this show to be in a suit, to the whole Pedro Pascal of it all, of like, I'm just gonna hide out in this helmet forever. But I really hope that we get to see. They can't possibly have put him in all that makeup and shit just for him to be on camera for 2 minutes without the mask on, right? So I really hope
I think he's definitely in the suit. I'm pretty sure he's in the suit.
Yeah, I really hope that we get to see more of him without the suit and more of him actually performing, where we can see him. Yeah. Because obviously we all love James Earl Jones, right? But there's only so much that I think is powerful about the voice. I should say this. We all love James Earl Jones. The voice performance is its own thing. I want to see more Hayden Christensen. We're hyping him up. Deliver. Give him unto me. I want to see if he's just as terrible an actor as he was when he was younger.
Oh my God, justice for Hayden. Justice for Hayden.
That's the ultimate, proving to your ex that you're doing better than them. Prove to the haters that you can act now.
I'm a Hayden truther. I thought he was good in episode 3, at least. Maybe not in the rest, but it was the directing that was bad, not the acting. I'll die on that hill.
As long as the de-aging, whatever they do, because if there's a flashback, they're going to do the de-aging thing. As long as it's not creepy like they did with Luke Skywalker, like, I'll be fine. Yeah, I'm just curious to see how they deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he looked good in the scene. I don't know that they did any CGI, but obviously he had robes on and stuff. So we'll see. I do hope, though, to your point, Naomi, I hope we get more. We need Hayden Christensen has been so hyped up to be in this series. Like, there's no way that he's only going to be in the suit. So I do think we'll definitely get some more flashbacks. So we cut to the Inquisitors. We see them at this base, which Isaiah, since you played Jedi Fallen Order, you might know that this base was the base where Vader was at the end, where we fought I don't remember, the 9th sister, the 8th sister, whoever it was in the game, which was pretty cool. That was a pretty cool callback. So Reva walks in, and I think just like seeing the Empire at its full scale, like, we don't really get to see this in Star Wars media that much. Like, there's money everywhere. Obviously, they're at the height of their power. These buildings are very cool. The aesthetics are very cool. She walks in, she goes to meet the other Inquisitors, and she's basically like, he's in the mining systems. I tracked the manifest. We need to send out the probes. And the 5th brother's like, no, we're not doing that. I'm next in line. This is not happening. And she's like, well, I talked to Vader and he said we're doing it, so we're doing it. And then that kind of like shook them a little bit. Anything about this scene that stood out to you guys?
I mean, just pissed that you're not in power. That's all it is. And I'm like, we spoke about this a little bit, but I think she's getting manipulated by Vader. We see jumping ahead a little bit, we see that the brother actually speaks to Vader as well, allegedly. So if that is true, I'm sure he's probably saying the same thing to him that he's saying to her, and it's just all a big lie. So I think it's all a bunch of BS.
Yeah.
playing them. He is It's like Anakin is playing Big Brother. You know what I mean? Like he's making everybody listen. Like I'll keep you safe if you like, go do this thing for me, please. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. And we'll talk about it a little later when we go to the actual planet. But like to what you said, Katie, I'm really enjoying seeing, the full empire, right? The empire at its most in control. Because when we get to the planet, we see that, as Obi-Wan says, they've stripped it and they've totally mined it to death. And they even mention it in the ship, like, oh, it's a mining port, like we've been taking this stuff out of them. And I think it just goes to show that not only is the Empire like evil because they're, pursuing and hunting the Jedi, but they also like ruin the planets that they take over. And then they eventually blow them up, as we know. But not only that they ruin the lives of the people that they control. And I think that was a little bit of world building that felt to me like, yes, for so long we have talked about the Empire as evil, but we don't really have an understanding of like how they impact people on a day-to-day besides like pushing them around and being like, do you have Jedi with you? And I thought this was very tangible and a very good way of including that within the world that we're in right now.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And, we see a little bit, we see the beginnings of it in The Bad Batch, which I know isn't everybody's favorite animated series, but, it shows a lot of this. It takes place right after Order 66 and the decommissioning of the clones and the bringing in some of the new troopers. And we see it a little bit in Rebels too, but it's already kind of like already established. But this is the first time we're really seeing it in live action Star Wars. And it's just very cool. I think it's great. So, so they go, they send out the stuff. And toward the end, Reva says, the fifth brother says, you'll get what you deserve, or I'll get what I deserve, and so will you. And she kind of says to herself, I hope so. I certainly hope so. Which to me makes me feel like she really thinks that she's owed something from someone. And that's really what I want to understand. Like, what is truly motivating her? Is it something that she knows Obi-Wan from the past? Was she a Jedi? Was a Padawan with Obi-Wan? Like, what is it that she's owed? That's really what I'm looking forward to finding out. Because I feel like they're hinting towards things, but we just don't know yet what it really is.
Oh, go ahead, Naomi. My bad.
Nah, I'm good. I agree. Katie said it perfectly. Yeah. Katie speaks for me.
Cool.
That's what I was going to say.
Cool. So let's go back to Mapuzo then. So Obi-Wan, they're walking around. They get to the place where the coordinates send them. No one's there. And he's kind of just reminding Leia, like, don't talk. Just don't say anything. Remember, I'm a farmer. You're my daughter. We're coming from, I think the planet is called Talk. I don't know. Something like that. But he's pretty much like, I knew it. No one's here. And this is, again, I just feel like I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse here with these little snippets of Obi-Wan kind of like losing his hope. But I really feel like this is like, he's been beaten down. The world sucks around him. He used to be on the Jedi Council. Everything got overthrown. He's living in a cave on Tatooine, protecting this kid, the son of Anakin Skywalker, who he thought was dead, just found out he's alive. And this just goes to show like he just has no hope left. He's pretty much like, I knew that no one was coming. So Leia's like, well, if no one's here, we may as well flag down this ship. And we get this guy who looks like I don't know. He looks like some kind of an animal, like a beaver, I guess.
A mole person.
Mole, yes, a mole. Thank you, mole. I don't know my animals. His name is Freck. Yes, I was going to ask you. Do you know Isaiah? Because I know.
Do I know what?
Who he's voiced by, or who's playing him?
No.
Zach Braff.
Who's that?
Oh. Okay. Well, from Scrubs.
Not all
of us from Scrubs, and
like
all right.
No.
All right. I guess only some of us care.
Not my lane at all.
Okay. All right. Boyfriend Zach Braff. Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were still together. Yeah. Okay. Well, so he's Zach Braff. And yeah, you know him if you see him. So it's funny here because Obi-Wan is saying like, don't talk. Do not talk to anybody. And she just runs up and she's like, my name is Luma, and this is my dad. We're here. He's showing me the planet where he met my mom, and we're lost. And Zach Braff is like, that's a weird story, but he just says like, get in the truck. It's funny because Obi-Wan clearly has no clue what he's going to be saying to this guy as she flags him down, but he's like, remember, say nothing. And she really like steals the show here. She thinks on her feet. She's super scrappy and smart. We get a totally missed hello there opportunity because she says, say hello, Dad. And he goes, hello, instead of saying hello there. Perfect opportunity for him to say it, and he didn't say it, which is unfortunate. But But they get onto this guy's truck ship, and we see a huge logo for the Empire on the back, kind of like if you were getting into a truck and you're hitchhiking and you see a Donald Trump sticker. Not ideal, not what you want to see. So it gives Obi-Wan pause a little bit.
This is the second Republican reference this podcast.
Listen, if it fits, it fits, you know?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah, this was also, I was watching this literally downstairs with my dad. And this was the moment when Obi-Wan Kenobi goes like, "This is my daughter." My dad goes, "Is he your dad?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Oh." And I was like, "You know, she's Luke's sister." And he went, "Really?" I was like, "You've seen these movies. What do you mean, really?" My dad was alive in 70 whatever when these
He
movies
needs a
came out.
refresher course.
And was like
Yeah,
20.
he
Like,
needs
it
a
wasn't like
marathon.
he was 10 or 9 or whatever. He was like a teenager, like a teenage adult, you know what I mean? And like, I can't believe you didn't remember any of it. I was laughing so hard. So he did not remember that Luke and Leia were siblings. He did remember that Anakin Skywalker is Luke's dad, but that's about all we got in the Star Wars canon. You know, not all of us can have like dads like Michael O'Rear, who's like, "You're gonna love Star Wars to death, or else."
It's true.
You know,
it's true. It is true. So Freck is his name. He starts asking them some questions about where they're from. They say they're from Tall. And he says, "Oh, those are good people on Tall. They listen to the Empire. You know, they're hardworking." So we really get a sense that like this guy's a loyalist. He loves it. He loves the Empire. He says, you know, Leia says we love the Empire, and Freck says there's nothing wrong with a little order. So then we see some stormtroopers on the side of the road, and he stops and he's like, "Hey, get on in. You know, I'll help you guys transport you where you need to go." And they all sit together in the back, which is like probably the worst possible scenario. I think the only thing worse would be like if you picked up Reba off the side of the road and was like, "Come sit in this truck." So this was a rough series of events for Obi-Wan Kenobi here and Leia.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, who do you guys think are smarter between the stormtroopers and the clones? Because I don't know about y'all, but like the stormtroopers in every movie seem so stupid. Like you already saw him call her Leia, and you're like, oh, okay, like I'm just gonna believe whatever story you told me. Like, like she, like I don't know, they just don't follow their instincts. They're just like so dumb, and it's like that's always bothered me. And they're really bad at shooting. They barely hit their targets. They suck. Anyway,
yeah, no, it's the clones are definitely the more elite soldiers. They're bred, they're cloned to be that way. But I think they talk, and I don't remember, Isaiah, I don't know if you remember if you watched it, but I think they talk a little bit about it in the Bad Batch when they start recruiting these new soldiers, and they're like, "Yeah, I just need like money. They pay for my food and my school and whatever." It's kind of like what it's like in real life, why some people join the armed forces. They just don't see a lot of opportunity out there. They're giving them an opportunity. They're giving them money and food. They may as well join. They don't care really at the end of the day. In a lot of cases, what the end goal is, they're just there clocking in, clocking out. But that's definitely the vibe of the stormtroopers for sure. But yeah, you brought it up, Isaiah. I mean, they start asking Obi-Wan a bunch of questions like, "What are you doing out there?" And you know, Leia makes up a story about him bringing her there to see where he met her mother. She's not with us anymore. And Obi-Wan says, or they ask Obi-Wan, you know, "What do you know about a Jedi?" And he's like, "I don't know anything. I wouldn't even know where to find one." And Leia says, "Maybe they're not here." And he says, "Leia, they know what they're doing." And he makes a mistake. He calls her Leia instead of Luma. And to your point, the stormtrooper's like, "Wait a minute, you just called her Leia and you said her name was Luma." And we're like, "Oh crap, here we go. Way to go, Obi-Wan." But then, you know, he basically says, "I get confused. You know, that was her mother's name." And then he kind of looks at Leia and he says, "You know, sometimes when I look at her, I see her mother. We miss her very much." And in this moment, he's very obviously picturing Padme, very clearly thinking about Padme and how much Leia reminds him of her, which was very sad. I mean, Obi-Wan's been through a lot over the last decade or so. Any thoughts on that part, Naomi? Did you kind of pick up on that too, or think the same?
Yeah, to me, I thought this was like the way that he recovered from it, because once he said it, I was like, all right, here comes the shootout. There we go.
Yep.
And then he recovered and I was like, oh, there we go. Like, come on, let's trick some stormtroopers. I mean, to your point, Isaiah, to me, the big gripe that I have now with the Star Wars universe, and it's like you can't think too hard about it or your brain just breaks, but we know that Finn from episode 7 was a stormtrooper. And we know that Finn, and then there's a couple other people in episode 9, right? Those people in like the watery planet. where they clearly say like we were kidnapped as kids, forced to be stormtroopers, and you sit there and you go, okay, so are like all stormtroopers just like children forced to be soldiers right now? And then you think about it a little more and you're like, who is they try and make them to be like these bad guys who are just doing whatever, but I actually think that if you think about it a little more, suddenly you're like, wait a minute, are these all just like kids who were kidnapped and forced to be soldiers all of a sudden? And then you feel a lot worse when they all get shot in the head.
Yes. I think that the kids getting taken to be stormtroopers is specific to the First Order, which is like the second coming of the Empire or whatever they're trying to do in those sequels.
Future
I think.
Events, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what that case is. And then I think for the decommissioning of the clones and then the bringing of the new people, it's like a recruitment type of thing, sort of like the army or the military would be now. That's what I believe like the timeline is, but I haven't dug too deep into the First Order stuff to really know. But I think that's kind of...
Yeah. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So
shout out to Finn, by the way, robbed of a good story, that guy.
God, I love him so much. John Boyega is so not only
John Boyega is great,
but so funny, and it's like they did him so dirty. But I should say that what I love in this scene is that Obi-Wan and Leia are working together to solve the problem, and that he kind of learns to trust her along the way. That she actually has really good instincts despite being a child, and they both really sell this story. And I'm sure we're about to get to it. That like in the end, Leia's like, did you know my mom? And I like that she's like, you looked at me funny. You knew my mom.
Yeah, pretty much. She's so intuitive. Yeah, I mean, basically the stormtroopers are like, okay, cool. I buy it. So they get off the truck and so dumb. They leave and they're like, all right, well, let us know if you see anything. And then Leia is looking at him, to your point, Naomi, and is kind of like, you know my mother. Like this whole time I've known you, you've been hiding something. And then he says like, are you my real dad? Pretty much. And he says, I wish I could say I was, but no, I'm not. Which is like a weird thing to say. I wish I could say I was, like, weird. But she says, sometimes I try to imagine what he was like. And like, this is such a bummer for Obi-Wan because he knows, he just found out that her dad is alive and terrorizing the planet and is on his way to kill him, killed her mom. It's just kind of like a bummer to be like, yeah, no, I'm not your dad. But like, he's on his way to get us now, actually, but you don't really want to meet him. Let me get a little bit of Obi-Wan backstory.
I love that line where he's like, I wish I was your dad. And it's just like, it's such a weird thing for your like dad's friend to say. I'd be like, all right, stranger danger. Like, you wish you were my dad? Get away from me.
Super weird. Super weird. Yeah, it's weird. Even when you think back to the prequels and he's like on the ship when they land on Mustafar and he's like, you brought him here. It's kind of like, oh, was Obi-Wan like trying to get it in with Padme at some point? Who knows? I don't know.
Oh boy, creepy uncle. Okay.
He would have been the better choice, I think, anyway, but whatever. What can you do? So we get a little bit of Obi-Wan backstory. He says he was taken from his family very young, which is the story for all the Jedi. And I think we're getting a show about this that was just announced during Star Wars Celebration, Tales of the Jedi. I think it's called. It's going to be another animated show that gives the backstory of all of the prominent Jedi that we've seen, which is very cool. But he's taken from his family very young. He says he has flashes of his mother's shawl, his father's hands, and he remembers a baby. And he thinks he had a brother, but he really doesn't remember. Which, like, give us more info on Obi-Wan's brother, please. I would like to know what happened to him. Is he Force sensitive? Like, give us more info.
Yeah. Obi-Wan Kenobi,
Obi-Wan Kenobi. I love it. Yeah, give us more info. But then he says, then I joined the Jedi and I got a new family, just like you. Then we get Freck. He's taking them towards this inspection plant, and he's like, no, it's not going to take long. Like, I know these guys. And Obi-Wan's like, no, we got to get off this freighter or whatever. Cannot be trusted. Brought them here on purpose. It was like, pick these guys up. You got to check them out. What an asshole.
Yeah, like I said, he was desperate, man. Like this guy is the biggest like ass kisser there is. Oh, I'll give you a free ride. Oh, come check out these free prisoners.
Yeah,
like get out of here, bro.
Freaking,
we should have known as soon as he said that's a weird story, but get on in. Like obviously he knew they were up to something. They should not have gotten on that truck, but they did. But yeah, this guy sucks.
Yeah, he was like a freaking like loyalist in like Colony America or whatever. It's like, you're really gonna bow down to the crown, you fucking nerd? Like, get out of here. I loved it. Obi-Wan just elbowed him in the back of the head. Like,
yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was great. So the stormtroopers come and they start asking Obi-Wan some questions, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to start Protocol 23." So then we see the protocol droids come out, which is very cool. And they tell him to raise his head, and basically, he puts his hood up, and he's very slow to raise his head and look up at the droid. But it does get a little bit of a scan of his face, and it has like a red mark on it once it scans his face. And then Obi-Wan just starts just blasting everybody to shreds, which the last episode he was really bad at shooting. He was like essentially stormtrooper level on the roof of those buildings. Not today. He took them all out with a blaster. We know that's not his weapon of choice. He finds them very uncivilized, but he did great. He took them all out. One of the guys took Leia and was threatening her, and he was like, "Okay, I'm putting it down." And then he took that guy out. He hit Freck on the back of the head. Then he goes through the I guess they're like a laser fence. I probably would have gone the other way. I would have taken the truck, gone the other way. I don't know what he's thinking here. Bad move. And he comes up on a truck with more troopers, and we see, like, I guess she's a general from the Empire. What were you guys feeling in this moment? Were you like, "Oh shit, here we go"?
Yeah, I thought that he was screwed. Unless he was going to use the Force or something, or whip out his lightsaber. I was like, what's really going on here? And then when the general basically pulled like a coup and like backstabbed the stormtroopers, I was just like, I wonder how long it took for her to be undercover for her to pull this off. This must be like at least like weeks or months of work, and you just threw all that aside just for Obi-Wan. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, and speaking of Game of Thrones, I know, Isaiah, you said you hadn't watched it. She is in Game of Thrones as the sand. What are they called? The sand snake, the mother of the sand snakes, or whatever. Yes, Elia Martell,
mom of the sand snakes, aka married to Pedro Pascal in Game of Thrones. So
yes, she was married to Pedro Pascal in Game of Thrones. Yes, yeah. Small world, small number of worlds.
Yes, she
surprised me. She is a great actress. She's really great. She really surprised me here. I didn't think that she was going to take these guys out. I was like, Obi-Wan is totally screwed here, and he's going to get brought to wherever. But no, she's on his side. To your point, Isaiah, she's obviously working undercover. She has all of the Empire gear. She says later on in the episode that she joined the Empire because she thought they stood for something, but then she realized, what they really were. So obviously she's kind of just doing double duty here, which great for Obi-Wan that he found her. But this is who was supposed to be meeting Obi-Wan and Leia at the coordinates, and she was on her way when the protocol droids were sent. So she's in cahoots with Haja as well. So they bring Obi-Wan and Leia into this, I guess it's like a droid repair facility. It's like a small little building, and there's a secret room in the back that hides the Jedi away. And there's also a tunnel built out in there. And that's where we get a little bit more story about who she is and who she helps. So she is part of a network that saves Force-sensitive kids and former Jedi or current Jedi, and it's all over these other planets. So they send them to another planet, and they give them a new identity and give them safety. So it seems like that's where Haja was sending that kid from episode 2, where he and his mother were asking for help. So he seems to be part of this network as well.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I thought that the actress playing Leia's mom was this actress. They look.
Oh, I could see that.
I was like, did Leia's mom just come and rescue her? That's badass, but then it wasn't. But I did enjoy this scene very much. Again, that classic like Star Wars bait and switch. You're screwed. Oh, suddenly you're not screwed.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think made it even better was that she was actually very much a general in the army, and this actually was something that she had control over. And I think it goes to show that like there are all these pockets of people, not only like people who are just normal everyday people, but people who are in the Empire and part of the overarching like oppressive forces that are there to help. And I really liked this character introduction. I hope we'll see more of her, but who knows? I thought she wasn't gonna make it through the episode, so I was surprised she did that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, like I was wondering, in your opinion, both of you, like, I mean, are we going to see her and Leia? I mean, jumping ahead a little bit, are we going to see her and Leia again, or is she going to reappear and then get off? Because if she's also like my second candidate of someone to get killed, actually, if we end up seeing her again. I don't know if she escaped to God, what's the planet's name?
Alderaan.
Yeah, if she's like if she gets to Alderaan or not. If she doesn't, and then like we see her and Leia again, she's like my second like number 2 for like who's gonna get killed this season. I could see her being the prominent character to get killed, but
I can't
Yeah.
believe you have like
another
a Death
prediction.
Note list of characters
Yeah,
that you're like
yeah.
just going.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we did see. I know we're jumping way ahead. We saw her and Leia separate kind of in that tunnel, so it will be interesting to see if they come together again or what happens. But it seems like Leia is in a whole mess of trouble at the end of this episode. But we'll definitely get there. So she kind of continues to explain that this isn't the first Jedi to pass through. Leia kind of is like, what else? Who else? And she says, even they're hunting down everybody, force sensitive children, everyone. And Leia says, what happens to them? And they say they're not sure, but no one ever sees them again. We've gotten hints of kind of what happens to some of these people down the line. I think a big theme of this was in Jedi Fallen Order, the video game. So I think we know that they either become inquisitors or they're put to work for the Empire, essentially. Obi-Wan also sees that Quinlan Vos was there. He says Quinlan was here. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Quinlan Vos. This is like a little bit of a deep cut. He was kind of like retconned. I think from episode 1, he was like sitting there on Tatooine, which is like a deep cut. But he also was in Clone Wars, I believe. He's a Jedi or a former Jedi. I don't know the full backstory of Quinlan Vos. I'll read it before the next episode. But he also is with Ventress, who was in Clone Wars. Now they kind of like go off together after Ventress leaves Dooku. So it's a pretty deep cut that Obi-Wan says like Quinlan is here. Maybe we'll see Ventress in the show, which I would die for. Ventress is a queen. I love her. So if we see Ventress start helping out Obi-Wan Kenobi, like I would die at this. I would be so excited, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to get too ahead of myself.
Cameo would make my day. Okay, let me.
Same. I love Ventress. She's amazing. So we'll see. I was pretty excited.
So I have my recap pulled up of from like a website, and it says Quinlan is the Jedi Master he teamed up with in the animated series Star Wars Clone Wars. I'm sure there's more to that, but I had no fucking idea who Quinlan was, and I was like, oh, we're just throwing out names now. Like the Star Wars universe isn't dense enough, and I'm supposed to know who Quinlan is. But that's cool. I like that this system where people are getting safety and being harbored to different planets. It sort of shows how crafty the rebellion is, because I think we forget that they really do hide in the shadows, and that for a long time they really are just like running away from the Empire, and they are in such little control of what happens to them, and they have crafty ways of making it work. So this was really fun, and we get to see more of like the tunnels and things like that. But to me, the best part is the introduction of the robot of droid. I love droids.
Yes.
I think hot take, droids are maybe my favorite part of Star Wars, because
they're great.
It's just like people are like, yeah, what should we? George Lucas sat there and was like, we should have some spunky robots, and he was right. And we have never forgotten that Star Wars is all about having quirky little fun robots. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah, this droid is great. I know they give him a name. I just know he's like a loader droid. I don't remember what his actual numerical name was. Ned B. Love that. Yeah, Ned B. Ned B sounds like a person's name, but essentially he can't communicate. He's just there. And when we get intro to him, Leia's introducing Lola to him, and she, I think her name is Thalia. I don't know exactly how to say her name, but she pretty much just says, they're not allowed to communicate. And Leia says, well, what if he has something to say? And she says, actions speak louder than words. And we do see that his actions speak pretty loud throughout this episode. He's a pretty great intro to the show. So Obi-Wan sees.
I'm gonna get up and get something while you're doing this. Hang on, I promise.
Yeah, go for it. No, please. So when Obi-Wan sees that Quinlan Vos was there, he does see something written on the wall, and it says, "Only when the eyes are closed can you truly see." And Leia says, "See what?" And he says, "The way." Which obviously they're talking about the Force. It's just so much Force heaviness of like kind of. To me, it feels like this is like reigniting the Force within Obi-Wan. He's shut it off for so long. He's living in this darkness, and he says the thing about turning the lights on. Only when the eyes are closed can you truly see. It just feels like this is all getting him completely aligned again in the way of the Force. What did you think about that, Isaiah?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think a recurring theme with a lot of the Jedi is that they just need some sort of hope to really be empowered.
Mhm.
And for Obi-Wan specifically in this state, when you have like years and years of like just being hunted, no real hope to like really rely on. I mean, of course you're going to be down and like kind of give up. So I think
Yep.
any like little glimmer of that, this was probably one of like the few times in like I don't know how many years have passed since Order 66, but this is probably the first time in like years, honestly, that he's like, okay, maybe there's a chance. So it was good to see. Hopefully, it kind of motivates him to just start being a little bit more active again.
Yeah, and I think, Isaiah, to your point, he's been living on Tatooine in a cave. He has no clue that all this stuff is going down. He doesn't know that Quinlan is alive. He doesn't know that he's
Hmm.
part of this resistance or this rebellion that's currently starting. I don't know if they have the name yet, the rebellion, but they're starting. They're picking up steam. There's obviously this underground system. So I think this really does probably ignite this fire in him to say, like, oh, there's a bigger world out there where like people are resisting this.
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying. Like this is like
Mhm.
why I love this series also, because it's just like showing us a lot of the stuff that we didn't get to see on the screen. I was
Yeah.
always wondering, like, all right, like, because in the movies, like they just kind of throw Obi-Wan back at you, like he was just like some hooded figure that just kind of just
Yeah.
pops right back up, and it just seems like you kind of just pick up where you left off with him last time, So it's kind of fun just to see like the lowest of lows for Obi-Wan. You're just seeing him slowly increase each episode just to get back to his regular self. Now, I mean, obviously, when we get to it, he hits another low, but it's a good little,
Mhm.
it's good progress. It's good progress.
For sure.
Mhm.
Okay, Naomi,
I
who do we have here?
Okay, first of all, I found two things. I was looking for something else which I have, but I have my what seems to be an Obi-Wan Kenobi as the red M&M. Uh
Amazing.
from M&M dispenser that says Star Wars on it. So that'll be my little in front set design. But I
Love it.
actually remember that I got this for Christmas a long time ago. I got like the actual little remote control BB-8 droid that you could
Oh,
throw
amazing.
these things.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna bring this home and this will go on my set deck. But this is very fun. BB-8, one of the best Star Wars characters of all time. Hot take. There you have it.
BB-8 is the best character of the sequel movies for sure. Without a doubt.
Entirely. Absolutely.
Awesome. So,
In entirety.
That whole fucking
So we-
galaxy, there's only one little roly droid in the world that steals my heart every time. It's BB-8. Babu Frick, and then everyone else.
yeah, Babu Frick is also pretty great. So we get some stormtroopers come banging on the door, and the loader droid opens up, and he wants to search the premises, and they're asking questions. Loader droid obviously cannot communicate, but we see he's holding, I guess, like a hammer or some kind of a weapon behind him, just in case things go down. So this is the first like actions speak louder than words. Like this guy's ready to go. Even though he can't speak, we know where his loyalties lie, and it's not with these stormtroopers, which I thought was great. That was a cool little moment.
You know this is not iRobot, because that robot's ready to strike. He's ready to kill a human. He does not care about the law
Yeah.
of robotics whatsoever. He's ready
No,
to
he
kill.
does not care.
That's one of my favorite things about Star Wars is that like Star Wars rarely tolerates bullying. Like if you talk shit about a droid, you're gonna get hit. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, definitely. And I love that. So Thal calls the pilot and lets them know that they've been compromised. They need to move. Like, let's go. Leia asks her if it's scary to pretend. Sometimes she says sometimes. And this is where we get some more of the backstory about, she joined the Empire when they thought she stood for something. Then when she realized what they really were, it was too late. And she's made some mistakes. And Obi-Wan says, we all do. And she says, I can't imagine Obi-Wan Kenobi doing anything wrong. And he pretty much says, like, it's just Ben these days. So it's like, he knows that he's made mistakes. He doesn't even want to be like this highly regarded Jedi that was in the council. Like he's just trying to make his way. They open the tunnel to get out of here to the pilot, and Obi-Wan feels the presence. He feels it. He's like, oh shit, this is about to go down. So he goes and he looks at the door and he sees Vader for the first time. He sees him for the first time in his new form. I mean, and this was like, I had chills from the moment that Obi-Wan started like panicking. I had chills from the beginning of this to the end of the episode. Like this was a lot. What did you guys think of this? Because like I was amped.
Like I thought he was getting just like glimpses or just like feelings of past Jedi or something that were there before when they opened the tunnel. I didn't really expect Vader to come in the flesh by himself. Like I thought if anyone pulled up it would be the Inquisitors. I didn't really think that Vader this early in the series, mind you, would come up. Like he's really trying to get Obi-Wan out of here, man. So I thought that was insane. And then, oh my god, the sequence when he's just like walking down and
Whew.
like completely taking all these people out. I mean, I didn't understood why, but like I'm guessing they were force sensitive or something. I don't know. I thought that he could just sense Obi-Wan from the rip. That's why he was like walking towards his direction. I didn't really know what his like MO was or anything, but my god, like he what a savage. Like it was so I'm a villain super fan. I love villains in anything. Even if they do bad things, like I'd still root for them. So like I mean, I don't know what that means about me, but like it was crazy to watch.
No, Isaiah, last episode I said that Anakin Skywalker is my favorite Jedi. So I don't know what that says about me. So we're in it together. Don't worry about
Yeah,
it.
you hating on Yoda? Like I have some questions, Katie. I have
We'll,
questions.
if we have time, I'm happy to go into it. Maybe we'll do a whole episode about it because I could talk about it for probably hours about how much I hate Yoda. So I'm very passionate about it. But yeah, we get Vader just what a badass. I mean, we asked for badass Vader, we got him. This guy is walking down so menacingly and slow. I mean, you don't get Star Wars, you don't get scary moments in Star Wars. This is the closest to like scary moments in Star, and it gets even scarier, but like this is like straight out of like some kind of horror sequence. Like this killer is coming, he's taking people down with him, he does not care. To your point, he's ripping people out of their homes by the force, dragging them down the street with him for seemingly no reason, just to show that they're there and they mean business. Like this is the Vader that we've heard about through all of Star Wars that we never really got to see on screen. And he's here and he means business and he's scary as hell. And this was awesome. And Obi-Wan's just sitting and watching what he created. This was his Padawan. He trained him in the Force, and this is the first time he's seeing him face to face, thinking after he thought he was dead for 10 years. Whew, what a moment.
So my theory is that he was torturing those people because he knew that Obi-Wan was there, and he was trying to provoke the sense of like, I should help these people who are dying because I am hiding. And it's a good strategy. Obi-Wan is like, I cannot just run away. I gotta go help these people, or at the very least, like distract him. But this is very not like tough to watch where I would sit there and be like, it's okay, it's a TV show. But it was tough in that like you could see just how villainous Anakin has become and how much of a dark lord he has become. And I think once again, this episode really emphasized the power of the Empire and the villainy of the Empire and the ways they affect people's lives all the time. We saw it in the last episode where she just freaking sliced off that woman's hand. You know what I mean? Like
no hesitation.
It is a bad time right now, and so that was a very like upsetting scene in terms of like, wow, this is a real villain, but very powerful because then I think it just felt more pressing. Like, Obi-Wan, you got to do something, man. You can't just sit back and like hide in the tunnels while a bunch of regular people are dying. And I love that Obi-Wan's solution was to be like, I'm gonna run outside and hope he notices me and then keep running. Like he didn't go like, hey, over here. He just was like, I'm behind the corner. No, I'm not. Bye. And then took off.
Yeah. I mean, the sheer terror in the streets with Vader pulling people out of their homes, people are screaming. It sounds like they're in the middle of a war zone almost, with, the big bad just here kind of just causing complete terror. But yeah, you're right. Obi-Wan tells Thal to take Leia, get her, promise me you'll get her to Alderaan. I'm going to go. I'm going to buy some time. I'm going to distract him. And he goes. So I think to your point, he probably is also doing this to stop some of the terror that's taking place in the streets and put more of the focus on himself, but also really to get a distraction and give Leia some time to get out of here and get her home safe. I also wonder, like, how much of this is he thinking about the fact that, like, Vader doesn't know. Well, I guess I don't know if he knows that this is his daughter's here, or if he even has a daughter or a son, or, he thought he was dead. So I have to assume that Obi-Wan doesn't realize that he knows that his son and daughter are alive. But I think we know that he doesn't know that Leia is his daughter because of what happens in episode 4, and they're together and it doesn't seem like they have any rapport whatsoever. He doesn't feel her in the Force, but still would be interesting to see if he got like a tinge of, oh yeah, I feel like someone in my family's here.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at some of the animated and video game content, I mean, he still kind of has like a soft spot for some kids sometimes. Like, if
Hmm.
they're not like fully like light, like if he can feel like he can kind of bring out that dark side in someone, like I mean, uh, Star Wars Unleashed, perfect example. The way they kind of made him bring in that kid, and he killed the stormtroopers just to bring this kid in and make him like a Padawan almost. So it's like I don't know necessarily how we react because I mean he cut Luke's hand off. I mean, granted, like God, who knows what he would do, but
Yeah.
I mean, after seeing this scene, I wouldn't be surprised if he would kill Leia. You know, like this is just kind of
Yeah.
wild.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and Isaiah, again, to your point, I was not expecting this in the third episode of the show. I don't know if we talked about this last week, but I did have a friend text me and say, like, do you think episode 3 is going to be the Vader episode because episode 3 was the Vader movie? I think this was. I don't think this was the only Vader episode, but this was certainly a Vader episode. Uh, Obi-Wan runs outside, and I don't know if he does something to like get Vader's attention, but he's kind of like hiding, and then he just disappears. So he takes Vader off his like trail of destruction and sends him running after Obi-Wan. So Obi-Wan's just running around in the dark, trying to get him off the trail of Leia, and Vader sees him, and we just see like a red saber out to the side, which I was like, whew, oh, it's happening. Obi-Wan's like thinking about it for a minute. He's about to pull his saber out, and then he just ends up just running away again, which I thought was interesting. And he just says, Vader says, "You cannot run, Obi-Wan." And then we get Obi-Wan pulling out his blue lightsaber. And to me, these lightsabers look incredible. I think we talked about it last week too, about Reva's lightsaber and just kind of the sound and the light. Seeing that blue lightsaber, just the only light in the scene is this blue lightsaber lighting up Obi-Wan's face, was so visually awesome to me. Like, I don't think lightsabers have ever looked cooler than they look in this scene.
To
I had to think
me,
about it, but yeah, you're right. Go ahead.
I really like this planet. I think a lot about the planets that we go to and the visuals of it. I liked last week when we went to Dio. I like this planet a lot. I think that it's a different landscape, and so it allows for a more. We still got the same sort of desert feel, but it's different, right? It's not
Mhm.
Tatooine; it's somewhere else, and so it feels very desolate, but in a different way. I loved eventually when they start fighting, and we really get to see that red and blue at it again. And I think that
Yes.
obviously lightsaber visuals have come such a long way in in VFX, and they have such a beauty to them in the lighting and the cinematography. And I really loved, going back to the cinematography for a second, when Obi-Wan starts to feel Anakin's presence. That's another great sort of like shot moment. The scene on the truck
Mhm.
between Leia and Obi-Wan, a lot of beautiful cinematography this episode.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. This show is shot beautifully, and the acting is just incredible. I think we can't say enough how amazing Ewan McGregor is in this show. I think Moses Ingram is incredible. I think the girl, I don't know the actress who plays Leia, but I think she's amazing. I mean, I just think overall everybody's just doing such an incredible job on the show, and you can really see the production value of it, especially in scenes like this. Uh, so Vader walks up and you can see him walking just because you can see everything is dark and black and you can just see the buttons on his outfit walk up, which I was just like, this is so cool and so freaking scary. It's just like these buttons coming up. And Obi-Wan just says, "What have you become?" to Anakin, really. He's talking to Anakin. The last he knew him was Anakin. And he says, "I am what you made me." And like, there is no shred of Anakin Skywalker left. This is Darth Vader, 100% Darth Vader. There's no Anakin in this man walking up to him, which is kind of just, to me, it's a little heartbreaking. Like, these guys were, as Obi-Wan said, "You were my brother." And this is where we're at.
It's like Anakin fully obviously fully did it to himself. But it's
Mhm.
also like Obi-Wan, I mean, you definitely just like left him there to suffer. Like, in my opinion, if you really want to just take him out, just kill him. You know what I'm saying? You should have just killed him. You just kind of like
And
left him
Vader
there.
says, "You should have killed me."
Yeah, like you kind of just left him there to suffer. So I mean, he's not a saint. Like obviously he did what he needed to do. Like Anakin, I'm no Anakin defender. I love him as a character, but fully deserved everything that came his direction. But Obi-Wan definitely kind of did it like a cowardly way. Like if you're gonna like kill someone, don't let them suffer. Just end it, you know.
Yeah.
So you know, I I'm sick because like I see both sides to every story, and I'm such a villain supporter. I'm sick. Like there's no reason I should be like agreeing with Vader, but like I get it. But he's still not right. He's still wrong. He's still wrong. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Listen, he was manipulated too, and I won't go off in my Anakin defense mode here yet, but he was manipulated too. He went to a lot of the Jedi for help. They all turned him away, specifically Yoda, and we'll talk about it next time. But it's a lot of people led to Anakin unfortunately ending up where he was, and Obi-Wan is a really big part of that.
Listen, the moment he did Mace Windu dirty, he was dead to me. Okay, like there you go.
Mm-hmm. We talked a little bit last week, Isaiah, about the possibility of Mace Windu returning. That's been a pretty believed theory across the internet. Would you be happy about it? Would you not?
I would love Mace Windu return. Amazing character. Did not get enough time with him. The only character that has like dark and light. Like such an awesome character. I loved him in also in the Star Wars animated series.
Mhm.
I was hyped to hear you guys talk about like a Jedi Legends series because think he's just like a perfect character to just explore with that. I'm sure Sam Jackson would come back for that. There's no way he would say no.
Yeah. I think he would.
He literally does Marvel movies. Why would he say no? So it's like I need more Mace Windu in my life. I need more of him because he's such a cool character. So cool.
Yeah, we were definitely robbed of some Mace.
Yeah. But I also feel like this fight, just to go back to it for a second, this was like a great battle where we can see that like Obi-Wan has not ridden this bicycle in a while. He is not doing great. But also I feel like Anakin, I guess it must be that Anakin really wants him to suffer, because I was like, Anakin, girl, like you can just kill him right now. You got it's right there. The shot is right there. Especially considering that he can like force choke people and like just snap their necks. I'm like, I don't know what's really holding Anakin back. You have to imagine that he wants him to suffer the way he, we're getting very petty revenge this episode. Huh?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's really get into this. Right. Let's really get into this fight because we haven't really touched on it yet. We talked about kind of what's leading up to it, but Vader comes up. He's very slow and methodical, and he already is overpowering Obi-Wan the second he walks up to him. He's hitting him. He's like striking him down. Obi-Wan is just trying to defend himself. You can see how strong Vader is in comparison to Obi-Wan. Like you said, Naomi, he hasn't ridden the bike in a while. He's very rusty. He's just kind of falling on the ground. He's just really doing whatever he can to kind of protect himself. And we get to a point where he takes his lightsaber out and Vader just starts force choking him, and he lifts him up. And it's just, I don't think Obi-Wan ever we know he didn't expect this because he thought Anakin was dead, but I don't think he ever could have expected what he was getting out of this new Anakin / Lord Vader / Darth Vader. And just the power that he had over Obi-Wan was just it was almost overwhelming. And I really liked that they did it this way. I'm happy that they did it in this slow, methodical kind of like I'm just hammering down on you and making you defend yourself and making you look kind of pathetic, rather than just this big flashy lightsaber battle like we got in the prequels. What did you guys think of this fight?
It was awesome. It was beautiful. I also liked how I can't even call him Anakin no more. I call him Vader. I loved how Vader was like using his like surroundings in this fight. I did not expect the whole fire thing. When I saw that, I was like, I know what direction this is going. I was like, Obi-Wan's gonna die, and I'm like, wait, he doesn't die in this series. I'm like, what the hell is he about to do? And then you like dragging him in the fire is like, I'm gonna make you feel what you did in me. I'm like, I don't blame you. Like, I mean, like he kind of left you there to rot. It's like I get it. Very petty though. Like you don't realize how petty Vader really is until like you watch this. Like the movies show you like they just tell you he's like done, you know what I'm saying? But like they never really show you how done he is, other than like what killing Obi-Wan and then like taking Luke's hand off. Like you don't really see how done this dude really is. So that like I really appreciate this series because it's really like showing like sides of like Vader that like I've never seen in the live action before. Like we've only seen this, I reiterate, only seen this in the games and the animation. We never really saw how like savage this dude is. It was just awesome. It was crazy.
Yeah. So to your point, he kind of puts his red lightsaber to the ground, and just the the ground just lights on fire, which I'm like, okay, I guess lightsabers can just light the ground on fire now all of a sudden.
No, it was whatever fell out that
Oh, right. He did pull that
yeah.
thing down. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
and it
guess he
I
dropped
had to
touched
out.
watch
his
it again
lightsaber
to
too.
make sure that he didn't just magically make fire appear, because I was like, these are the rules now, and then I had to rewind it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Good point. He did pull that thing down as he's, getting ready to force choke Obi-Wan, and he drags Obi-Wan just into the fire, and he basically says, I'm going to make you suffer the way that you made me suffer. And he says, you should have killed me when you had the chance. Your pain has just begun. And he's just literally, this is the part where I feel like this is the most like horror story that we have seen Star Wars become. Like we see this crazy, enraged, huge villain dragging the hero of our story at this point through the fire. And you're right, Isaiah. Look, how is Obi-Wan going to survive being dragged into a fire, like, and just burning alive or being tortured and toyed with? He turns the fire down. He tells the stormtroopers to get him. I mean, like, he does not want to make this easy for Obi-Wan. He wants him to completely suffer and be tortured the way that he's tortured continuously. I think it's been written around in some places that his life is very painful. Like this suit is not comfortable for him. He has to live in this Bacta tank when he's not in his suit. He can't breathe on his own. Like his whole life is essentially pain and torture. And I think, part of the reason for that is because that Palpatine uses that to fuel his rage and continuously fuel his rage. But he wants Obi-Wan to feel it. He wants Obi-Wan to feel the same way he feels.
Mm-hmm. Isaiah, you go.
I mean, I don't know what else to say other than like that. Like I mean, I don't agree with what he's doing because he's very petty, which I'm sure we're going to do like a character breakdown at some point because Vader's just a petty dude. Like honestly, this show is showing me how petty this dude is. Like, all right, like you're mad that he left you there after you tried to kill him and you failed. So, oh, I can't believe you left me here to suffer. Bro, you did it to yourself. Why are you trying to kill him? You know what I'm saying? Like it's on him. I am a villain fan first, but it's like I don't feel bad for Anakin Skywalker. Oh, I'm not even calling him that. I don't feel bad for Darth Vader. Like he literally just did it to himself. So it's like it is what it is, man. But damn, like Obi-Wan, I thought he was going to check here until like I had to come back in reality and think that this is just a Disney Plus series. Marvel fashion, they had someone interfere and just let him escape. But wow, crazy.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think to me, when you got to really think about like where Vader comes from, and obviously there's the pain of like losing his whole family and losing the woman that he loved. And I also think that what Obi-Wan did to him, he can't see as justifiable, right? Like for a long time, we think of like, well, his family's dead and like he killed them. But you got to remember, in his delusional brain, he thinks that like it's all the Jedi's fault and it's all Obi-Wan's fault. And Obi-Wan left him for dead on a planet, and so he's gonna seek revenge. I was like, oh my god, oh my god, he's actually gonna throw him in the fire. Holy fucking shit! I did not expect that whatsoever from Star Wars. I think it's one of the most like we've seen a lot of people. We literally saw a guy like get lasered in half like 10 minutes earlier in the episode, but that was like so distressing. And I think because it was sold really well, it was shot really well, but also like there was a real moment there where it was like I thought he was gonna like be kind of burned and wrinkly, and then I was like, oh, Alec Guinness, come on in, like like suddenly he's much older and
oh yeah, that would have been a good way to age him.
But
Yeah.
overall, this was extremely visceral and emotional, and I think again like we talked about the Better Call Saul of it all, we know that Obi-Wan's gonna live, but who knew about this? Who knew about like Anakin Skywalker dragging him through the fire? But I also think that in the grander context of Star Wars, what it will lead to is what we see in Episode 4, where Obi-Wan doesn't need to beat Skywalker. He just needs to set up Luke for success. He just needs to set up future plans. And that's the difference between Obi-Wan and Anakin, is that Obi-Wan doesn't need to be the winner. He doesn't need to be the most powerful person. He just needs to ensure that the galaxy will be saved one way or the other, whereas Anakin Skywalker is power hungry and is always looking to be in control and dominating over other people.
Yep, exactly.
I also wanted to say I know this is a Obi-Wan Kenobi series, so I don't want a Boba Fett 2 where like you have someone else basically take your show over. So I'm going to save my Darth Vader wishes for like a future series, hoping like we get a Darth Vader series, because I would really like to see just like what his mindset is. Like how in Obi-Wan we're kind of seeing him like hallucinate about like Anakin, and he's really thinking about all these regrets. I would really like to see and break down like the psyche. I know Disney's never going to do this. They don't like giving us good content, but I would love to see like the thoughts or like what's really going on in Vader's head, like what he's thinking about, if he has any voices in his head, what he's hearing. Like I would really love more time with Vader, but like that's just me being selfish. This is Obi-Wan series, so I'm not going to wish that on this series. I don't want Vader to steal the show, but I would love just more Vader content. Like there's just so much unanswered and unexplored territory with this character that I would just love to see them just give us more stuff. Give me more Vader.
Yeah, for sure. I think Vader stole the show tonight from Obi-Wan. That is for sure. Isaiah, I would say read some of the comics if you are a comic person. I'm not really a comic person, but I have read some of the Vader comics, and some of the stories in there really give you a really great idea of kind of like what his mindset is and some of the stuff he's going through around this time frame. So they're pretty interesting. While this is going on, though, we get Reva. There's chaos in the streets. Everybody's running, panicking, freaking out. They're looking for Obi-Wan. They're looking for all of this stuff to see who's been helping him. And Reva goes into the droid facility because the loader droid left to kind of go actually help out Obi-Wan, which we see in a minute. But Reva goes in and she's looking around, and she realizes there's a secret door here. So she opens it. She uses the Force, and she finds their hideout. She sees that there's a Jedi Knight symbol carved into the wooden wall here, and it gives her pause for a minute. She kind of looks at it, and you see in her eyes that she gets an emotional reaction to this, and then she just immediately, it's like she feeds into it for a second, and then she just like turns it into complete rage. Do we think that this is setting her up? I know, Naomi, we talked about this last week, to be one of the Padawans in the beginning that we saw in the beginning of the opening of the series in Order 66. Do we feel like we're going to learn more about her connections to the Jedi?
I think we are. I think come on. We talked about it last week. Maybe, but I think for sure. I mean, watching the first 2 episodes now, did you see this coming? Did you see that like maybe she's one of those younglings running away in the beginning?
No, I mean, obviously, I didn't expect Leia to. I didn't expect all this Vader content in general. So it's like I didn't with Leia. I didn't know. I really didn't know what to expect coming. Like this is just like this came out of nowhere. This came out of left field for me. I don't know. I had no expectations for this.
Yeah, for sure. I think while this is happening, Leia sends Fall, I don't know, back to go help Obi-Wan. She's like, I'm gonna run, just like go. You need to go help him. I can make it on my own. She leaves Leia, and she's like, meet the pilot. He's gonna meet you here at the end of this, at the port. So Thal comes. That's how Obi-Wan gets saved. Thal shoots. Vader stops the fire, tells the stormtroopers that have approached to bring him to me, and Thal shoots, I guess, either a gas canister or something, starts a fire again. Then she starts shooting some of the stormtroopers, and the loader droid takes Obi-Wan. Vader lets them get away, essentially. He just like lets it happen. It seems like he's not doing anything to stop it. The stormtroopers are not doing anything to stop it. There's a very cool scene where he's standing there looking at the fire, and you can see the reflection of the fire in his mask. What did you guys think about this? Do you think he let them get away on purpose? Because they kind of ran up and helped Obi-Wan and brought him away, and nobody did anything to stop it.
Are you telling me fire is going to stop Darth Vader? Like,
right.
Of course. I think he's not threatened by him. I think this fight showed him he's like, oh, you can't stop me. There's no way you'll ever be able to stop me, which, I mean, was proven true because he kills him years later. But I think he was just having him suffer for the rest of his life is good enough. It's one of those moments where it's like, I'm going to let you live knowing that I could have killed you.
Yeah.
You gotta live with that. So, yeah.
It's like he instilled the fear.
I don't know if you guys watch Community. There's a great running joke where they go like, well, ghosts can't go through doors, guys. And that's what it kind of felt like. Well, Jedi can't work through fire. But it really is like, I think, Isaiah, you've hit the nail on the head that like, Anakin is like, I'm coming back for you. You got away this time, but you didn't get away. I'm just letting you go, you know, and like he's about to
Mhm.
come back and like beat him up again later and take his lunch money again, you know. It's ever continuous. It's not just like a one time, because that would be satisfying if you're Anakin, right? That wouldn't be satisfying to just kill this person. and and he's also, I think, in a lot of ways, besides the Emperor, one of the only ties to his past anymore. You know, everybody else is like, gone, or Yoda has fucked off forever. There is nobody that uh, that Anakin has a connection to like Obi-Wan in his life anymore. His mom's dead. His girlfriend's dead slash wife. His children don't know where they are, presumed dead. His like, other master dead. Everybody's dead. So
Everybody.
there's kind of like a, maybe he's holding on to him a little bit because it's one of the only people he still has in his life who was there in the beginning.
I think
Like
it's a little bit of like a cat and mouse type of game. Like he doesn't, like you guys have said, he doesn't want to just kill him. He wants him to suffer. And I think he knows Obi-Wan so well that he knows that he's going to be shook from this, and he's going to live probably in some fear of Vader coming back. He knows he's going to eventually come back for him. So I think it's pretty interesting that he kind of just let him get away like that. But because we have the loader droid and Thal here helping Obi-Wan, Leia is on her own, and Reva has discovered this tunnel that Leia has gone down, and Reva outsmarted Thal and the pilot and everybody else, and we see her meet Leia at the end of the episode at the end of the tunnel. And Leia says, "Are you who I'm waiting for? Are you the one I'm supposed to meet?" And she tells her, "Unfortunately, they couldn't make it, but I will take you from here." And we zoom into the pilot who is dead on the ground next to Reva. So Reva has Leia again. Second time.
I think Obi-Wan's gonna be pissed because she's probably thinking that let me go help Obi-Wan and stuff. This little girl, this is one of the old councilmen. He takes precedence, but he's gonna be like, "Do you know who she is?" And then she's gonna be like, "No." And then I don't think Obi-Wan's gonna tell her who Leia is, but like,
I don't think
you
so,
really
yeah.
messed up right there, man. So bad, man, bad.
Yes.
But I mean, they're all gonna live at the end of the day. Who cares?
Yeah. Although I think it's kind of funny, girl, Leia, like you don't have like a good people radar. You don't for one second kind of go, this lady seems mean. Like you can't. I knew what a mean person was like when I was 10. You know what I mean? I didn't like some of my teachers. I knew because they were mean people. Like you can't even figure it out. Like I thought you were smart, Leia.
I don't know that Leia has much of a choice here, to be fair to her. I mean, she reached the end of the tunnel. This is the only person waiting for her. She can't turn back. It's just complete chaos. Things seem to be getting a little bit hairy here for Leia. But that's where we end our episode. I thought this episode was absolutely incredible. I mean, I was riveted from start to finish. I know we've talked about it at length, but just the Vader content of this episode was just truly riveting. It was scary. It was like straight out of a horror movie. It was beautiful. It was so methodical and just felt well thought out. I really love what they did with a lot of these scenes in this episode. Are you guys looking forward to anything next week? We're halfway done with the series. It's only 6 episodes. This was the end of episode 3. I can't believe it.
I'm so like, all right. I mean, I was good on the series at first. Like, I was just like, it was a little slow. I'm so in right now. I'm extremely in, and I'm so excited for the next episode.
Same. I mean, I'm psyched. I liked this episode a lot more than the first 2. I thought it had a lot of fun elements to it. I love the droid, the Iron Giant of the Star Wars universe, and I think it's a great note to end on where like, oh shit, how are we gonna get out of this one? Can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how they wrap it up. Again, 3 episodes to go, and we still feels like so much ground to cover. We have to get Leia home. We have to resolve the conflict, at least for now, between Vader and Obi-Wan. We have to find out what happens to Reva and the rest of the Inquisitors. There's a lot to cover. I have faith that they'll be able to do it. I wish these episodes were a little bit longer. I will say that forever about all of these Disney Plus shows. Why are we doing less than an hour? I don't understand, but it's okay. With that being that's our episode for this week. Isaiah, where can everyone find you?
People can find me here on Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff at ball bangers. You can see me talk about reality TV, anime, Disney stuff, Marvel, all that fun stuff. You can find me podcasting here. You can find me podcasting RHAP, where I should be talking about sports. I'm going to go record that right after this. Just talking about the NBA Finals that's about to come up. And you can also find me on Purple Pants Podcast with Bryce Isaiah, talking about music every month. So yeah, check me out.
Awesome. Naomi, where can the people find you?
Hi, I just released a new episode of Mike White Was Robbed with my good pal Matt Bodkin, all about the Survivor reunion. That was super fun. And you can hear me on Silent Podcast talking about Top Chef Houston. We have 2 more episodes. I just recorded a couple days ago a fantastically funny, I'm going to edit it right after this episode, with Gia Nicole and Mike Bloom. So be on the lookout for that. Additionally, you can go back and listen to our Project Runway coverage on Silent Podcasts, and follow me on Twitter at Naomi Calhoun, and nowhere else. Don't follow me on Instagram. I don't want you to perceive me.
Amazing. Well, you can find me at Real Slim Katie on Twitter. You can come to Instagram if you want, but I really don't do anything on there. You can also follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/RealSlimKatie with an underscore. Play a lot of cozy games and just hang. We're going to be playing some Star Wars games too as the time comes for new Star Wars games to come out. So we'll have plenty of Star Wars content over there as well. You can also find me on Silent Podcast talking all things Real Housewives in the Bravo universe on The Cool Water Show, along with my co-host Carrie. And you can find us talking. We'll be releasing another episode today, actually, of our Real World Homecoming podcast called Stop Being Polite. We're covering all things about the homecoming New Orleans, which this season has been amazing. This is a penultimate episode. Next week is the finale. So we're recording an episode directly after this. So you can check that out if you like that show. If you're not watching it, you should be. It's amazing. Other than that, you can find us. Let me bring up the banner. On social media, follow Silent Podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. Rate us, review us, give us a 5-star. It really helps us get discovered. You can find us on Twitch at Silent Podcasts. You can find us on YouTube at Silent Podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at Silent_Podcasts. And all of those places are where you will be able to see what all of us and our other amazing hosts are up to. So definitely check us out there, and we appreciate your support. And until next time, thank you guys so much for tuning in to The High Ground. Very excited to talk to you guys next week about whatever this show throws at us. Bye, everybody.